Hello everyone and welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making Caldo De Res. I love Caldo De Res. I grew up eating this as a kid. I remember waking up to the smell of caldo, and my mom had been working already 2.5, 3 hours on this from early morning, so that way by noontime it would be good to go. We'd all sit around the table with our tortillas and our salsa, and it would be the middle of the summertime, and yet here we are with this hot soup and this hot salsa, and we're all sweating at the table. If you guys have memories like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So let's get started on making this Caldo De Res, which is a beef vegetable soup that I think you guys are gonna enjoy.
This soup came out very flavorful. The meat is very tender. We've got tender veggies in here. There's lots of flavor going on. Not only is this delicious, but it's also nutritional. So let me show you how I made this. Okay, I'm going to be using 2 beef shanks. As you can see here, you can see this bone, and inside of it we've got bone marrow. So this is important because it adds a lot of rich flavor into our broth here. If you cannot find this, see if you can get to a meat market and ask the butchers for some beef bones, because you don't want to skip out on that. There's lots of great flavor in there, and it's so good for you. So make sure that you can grab some bones. We're also using, that's about 1 pound of beef short ribs. My husband loves these. It's got this really meaty section on the other side here. He loves that. And I also have about 1 pound of a beef chuck roast. They didn't give me a lot of meat, and I ordered this curbside, so I had to go shopping in my freezer, and that is about 1 pound of beef chuck roast that I'll be using. We are going to add all of this meat and bone into a large stock pot. Just try to fill it up as much as you can. Make sure all the pieces fit in, just like that. We're also going to add in 1 whole onion, a whole head of garlic that I chopped the top off. Let's add 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper, and we're going to fill this up with 10 cups of water.
I'm just going to make sure that everything is submerged.
Cover this. This pot is set to a medium high, and we're going to wait for this to come to a boil. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes, and this has started to come to a simmer, and I'm going to start removing all of this foam that comes up to the top. I like a clear broth, and I don't want to be seeing this when I'm eating my soup, so we're just going to go ahead and remove all of this. Once we remove all of this foam that's come up, we're going to close our pot and continue simmering, boiling this for an additional 1 hour and 45 minutes. That'll be a total of 2 hours. Okay, before I close the lid, I'm going to crumble in these 2 Knorr Beef bouillon cubes. These are called Caldo De Res, and it's the Knorr brand. Crush them in there, give it a good stir.
Okay, so we're going to be working with 4 corn on the cobs. These have been split, and these are frozen. I bought them this way. I'm going to have a whole jalapeño here. This is a giant one. And I'm also going to be using a tomato here. These 2 I'm just going to stick in my broth and I'm going to make a salsa with those. We also have lime for the garnish. Now I have 3 russet potatoes. They're medium size. Use whatever potatoes you like. I prefer the red potatoes, but I have russet potatoes right now, so that's what I'm going to use. I have half a head of cabbage here, and I have 2 of these Mexican squash. If you do not have these are pretty fat, so I'm using 2. If you do not have Mexican squash, you can use regular zucchini, or you can even use yellow squash if you prefer. Over here I have 4 carrot sticks, and these are large. Let me just show you. See how large these are? And I've got a bunch of cilantro here as well. So these are the vegetables that we're going to be chopping up. I need to wash everything, and I'm going to chop everything up, and then I'm going to show you once I'm done. I also forgot to mention that I'm going to be working with 2 celery sticks as well. I'm going to wash it all up. Okay, so our beef bones and meat have been simmering now for about an hour and 45 minutes. And I went ahead and chopped up all of the vegetables, and I'm going to show you here how I cut them up. Chopped up into large chunks, you can see here, and I left some of them whole as well, you know, like this. This was left in whole, just chopped up into smaller sections. But you can see they're pretty big. So here I have the corn that you saw earlier and the celery, okay? And then we've got the vegetables here for my salsa. And then I cut up the cabbage like this into big old chunks. You see that? And then my zucchini here also. Big chunks. And I got a bunch of cilantro. I'm just going to leave it like that because I'm going to end up putting it in there like that. And here, this is going to be for garnish. And then the potatoes here, I went and you can see they're in water. And I peeled them. You don't have to peel them. You do however you want. And this is just going to be our garnish for our bowls. And for seasoning, really the only thing I'm going to be using here is cumin. The beef bones do all of the work here. So this is all our prepped veg. I hope it's all going to fit in the pot. Here we go.
I'm also going to boil a liter of water because I think we're going to be needing more water.
I'm going to remove this onion. A lot of the liquid, as you can see, has evaporated. So I am going to be needing to add some water here. I'm also going to remove my garlic, which has gone swimming in there. So I'm going to go ahead and fish those out. I'm going to go ahead and throw in some vegetables, and that's going to be the celery here, the corn, and we're also going to throw in our carrots. Okay, all these little things here. And this serrano and this tomato. And we need more water here, so luckily I boiled some, and I'm going to fill this up here with hot water. That was a liter of water. Okay, we're going to bring this back up to a boil. These are all the vegetables I'm going to add for now. Okay, I'm going to come back and check on this in about 10 minutes. This is not going to make it spicy. I left it completely whole. If you cut into it, it will make it spicy. But my kids don't like a lot of spice, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and make it into a salsa. So that's why I'm going to come back in about 10 minutes. Don't forget the lid. Okay, so this has been simmering for about, I don't know, about 12 minutes or so. Is all that smoke gone now? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take out my tomato. I'm going to take that out. And I'm going to take out this pepper. And I'm going to check here on the veggies. Okay, these are getting soft. I wanted to give all these guys here a head start. And I'm going to continue adding more ingredients here. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in my potatoes. Be careful. Very hot. Squash. So we're going to go ahead and add in the rest of our veggies. And I'm just going to put those on top like that. I'm also going to try to fit in the cilantro. We got a lot going on here. I don't even know if my pot's going to close. Okay. But you know, the more the better. Okay, so, oh, I forgot. Cumin. Don't be like me. I should have put this in there before I threw in all these other veggies, but I forgot the cumin, so I'm just gonna kind of sprinkle it in around that cabbage. And I don't want to move the cabbage, it's gonna fall apart, so I'm just going to kind of try to tuck in the cumin there, but just add that before you stick all the veg in there, okay? And cover, and let's cook this for another 10 to 15 minutes or until the potatoes are soft. Okay, I'm just gonna get some scissors and cut the end off right there. Okay, and we're gonna throw that in there. This is a mini food processor. You can put this in a whatever blender you want. I'm just gonna kind of squish it up to make it fit in there. I should have used my big blender, but this leaves it in bigger chunks. Honestly, a molcajete would be the best thing here. If you had a molcajete, I unfortunately do not. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a little bit of a pinch of salt. And we're just going to blend this. We just want to chop this. You don't want to make it into like a fine salsa. You want this to be a chunky salsa. So we're just going to chop it a little bit. And that's exactly what we're looking for there. Okay, so this has been simmering for an extra 10 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this. And I'm gonna check the potatoes. It's been 10 minutes. Let me get a fork. Here's the potato. That's still a little firm in there, but I'm turning this down. Honestly, I'm gonna turn it off because everything's gonna continue to cook in here. And I definitely do not want to overcook some of these vegetables that are like the zucchini and stuff. So I turned this off. I'm going to cover it and I'm going to let it sit for 10 more minutes and then we're ready to eat. I just retasted it and I feel like it needs a little bit more salt because of all the vegetables that we added. So I added in a teaspoon of salt. And I don't want to stir this around because of all the veg that's in there, so I'm just kind of try to mix it up without moving it too much. Okay, just let this continue sitting. Okay, this has been sitting here for about 10 minutes since I turned it off just to finish cooking the potatoes. So I'm gonna take one out and we're gonna check it for doneness, and it's just perfect. So this is ready to go. We're ready to eat and I'm hungry. So let's serve up. Okay, so here's my rice. My mother always served her soup, her Caldo De Res, with this Mexican rice. So we're gonna scoop some of this right into our bowl. Okay, and we're gonna start grabbing some of our meat here. And now for my favorite part is the broth. It's always gonna be the broth. This is that chuck roast that I put in there and it is so tender. I'm gonna take a chunk off. I don't even need to cut it. Look, it just comes, it pulls right off. So I'm gonna take this piece and put it in that bowl. Okay, and we're gonna stick this nice big chunky piece right in here. That is the that roast, guys. Okay, we're gonna garnish this with a little bit of cilantro. Little salsa. Okay, so we always eat this with tortillas. I put this tortilla on the comal and I'm just gonna take a little bit of that salsa that I made and I'm just gonna rub it all over my tortilla like this. You can also put this salsa right on, right into your soup. That's how my parents would do it. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of lime right on my tortilla and also a little squirt of lime right into my soup. And we just take our tortilla, you dip it in, Dip it in right there, and we take a bite. This is gonna be good. It's super hot. Yum. I'm gonna cut a piece of this meat here. I filled my bowl up too much. I'm gonna try to cut it off with a tortilla. It's really hot. Look at this smoke. Let me zoom in on this piece. It looks so good. And you see that? It's so tender. I could just squeeze it. It's super hot. It's so tender and meaty. The broth is so rich. All the oils have released from those bones and from the meat, and it just makes an incredibly rich broth. And it's also super hot. Now let this cool down. But it's so good. It's delicious. I love the sweetness from the carrot. It gives it such a good flavor. And this corn, I cannot wait to dig into it, but I bet it is super hot. So I'm gonna keep on enjoying and let this cool down a little bit, but you definitely want to give this a try. It came out super delicious. All the steps of adding the vegetables help, so that way none of them get too soft or too soggy in there. It just really makes a perfect bowl. So go ahead and give this a try. It's amazing. Make sure you set 3 hours aside, because this took about 3 hours to cook total. So it's a lengthy process, but it's super easy, and I think you're gonna love it. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you have not yet. Also, I'm gonna leave a link for the rice, the Spanish rice that I used for my soup. I have a recipe for that. And also, thank you so much for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.